there, this is Danelle Flanders for Paper Tray Inks Make It Monday today, and I'm going to show you how to do dipped die cuts. Here I've used a leaf prints die and I've dipped them in gold embossing powder and heated them up, and I've created a little sort of a sleeve for some tags. You could fill the sleeve with a variety of tags like I have here, or you could just do one sleeve with one tag and maybe use them as place settings for Thanksgiving to show everyone how grateful you are for them. And these are the tags that I've made with my little set. I have embossed all of the cute little leaves from leaf prints, and you can see this is the sleeve. So let's get started. For today's technique, I'm going to be using the leaf prints dies by Paper Tray Ink. And I've gone ahead and cut out the leaf, maple leaf with patterned paper. I'm going to be using Versamark ink, or you can use any ink that embossing powder will stick to. And I have some gold embossing powder here. The die was cut out with the Autumn Abundance pattern paper pack by Paper Tray Ink. I love these patterns. They're so pretty for fall. And what I'm going to do is just pick up the leaf and rub the edges with the embossing ink pad. I don't want to do the whole thing. I just want the edges to look like they were dipped. And then you'll go ahead and pour the embossing powder on. If you find it has too straight of a line, you can just take your finger and rub some of it off, make it more random looking. Next, I'm going to heat up the embossing powder with my heat tool, and I'm holding the die cut down with scissors so I don't burn my fingers. The heat tool does get very hot, so you want to keep your fingers far away. And you can see the embossing powder is melting. And when you're done, this is what it looks like. So pretty and shiny. Now for the sleeve inserts, you'll want to cut a basic bookmark number 3. I've used 3 of these with white cardstock. Just run them through my die cutting machine and cut out 3 bookmarks. The first bookmark will use this leaf from Leaf Prints, and I just cut 2 of those from the pattern paper. The second bookmark uses the maple leaf, and I cut 1 out of vellum and 1 out of pattern paper, and I'm just going to be layering those. And the third bookmark utilizes the largest leaf from Leaf Prints, and I cut 2 of those also, 1 from the stripe paper and 1 from vellum. For time's sake, I went ahead and embossed all of the edges of my leaves, and I wanted to show you a really quick tip. To get a more random look, you can just put embossing powder on the paper and just dip your leaf in the embossing powder, just to get right around the edges. And here's what it looks like when you're finished. I love how they look, they're so cute. To stamp the tags, we're going to be using the Basket of Blessings stamp set by Paper Tray Ink. So let's get started on the first tag. So on the first tag, I'm going to use the Blessings stamp and the Give Thanks for Unknown Blessings already on their way. And what I like to do is work on a lined surface like this stamp pad. And I placed the Blessings stamp down onto one of the lines. And then I'll take my stamping block and line up the line on the stamping block with the line on the stamp pad. And I'm just going to be using dark chocolate ink for this one. And you can see how it's easy to line it right up with the lines on the stamp pad. For the smaller text stamp, I'm going to be using the terracotta tile ink. And I'll just stamp it right below the blessings. Now I'm just going to adhere the leaves with glue dots, and I'll layer the vellum leaf under the pattern paper leaf. And attach it at a slight angle. And last I have a vintage cream button, and I've just added some floss to the center and attached it to my leaf with the glue dot. Now let's move on to the second tag. On this tag, I really wanted to use the thank you sentiment, but it was a little too wide to fit on my tag. So what I did was snip the thank and the you apart with scissors. And you can always use it as one image again. All you have to do is fit it together on your stamping block. First, I'm going to stamp the smaller text that says, "Let us be grateful to people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom." I'm going to stamp that first in dark chocolate ink, and then that way I'll know where to place the thank and the you over the top. For the thank you, I'm going to use Canyon Clay ink. It's a little bit lighter than the terracotta tile, and I wanted to have a little bit more lightness with the dark chocolate so it didn't blend into the dark chocolate sentiment as much. So I'm going to line up the thank and just have it just above the third line of text. Now I have the U stamp. I've picked that up with my block, and I'm going to stamp that just so the O and the U are right below the last line of text. Then I'll add my 2 leaves that have already been embossed on the edges, the dip die cuts, and another button by Paper Tray Ink. And then the last tag I've stamped Grateful in dark chocolate ink, and I'm going to stamp For the Beautiful Ways You Bless My Life in terracotta tile ink. Again, I'll be layering a vellum leaf under the pattern paper leaf, and I'm just going to place it straight on my tag because I like how the stripes in the pattern paper are straight. And another vintage green button goes on top. Last but not least, we'll work on creating the sleeve, and I'm going to show you how I sew on paper with my sewing machine. Okay, we're almost finished. We just have to create the sleeve for our tags. So I cut a Classic Craft piece of cardstock, 2.5 inches high by 7 inches wide, and I've scored it in the center. And I just stamped the large text in the what will be the front of the tag, front of the sleeve, sorry. And I'm just embossing it with white embossing powder. And then I can fold it up, and then we are going to stitch on the sides. But first, I'm going to take some fresh snow ink, and I'm just going to dip my finger in the ink and rub it over the saying. I think it just adds a soft feel to the front of the sleeve. Okay, so here is my sewing machine, and there's not really a trick to sewing on paper. You just stick it under the needle and go like you would with fabric. And I apologize, it was hard to film and sew at the same time. But I just usually go down and then I hit the reverse button and go back up, and then I go back down again. And I don't try to get it straight, it just sort of random. And then I'll just snip off the ends a little bit so it's not so messy. And then it helps to just put your fingers into the sleeve and puff it up a little bit to make room for your tags. You'll want to grab your tags and make sure they slide in and out easily. And then I have my trusty seam binding. I'm just going to wrap it around my sleeve and tie a little bow. And then I just left the seam binding dry. I know in my last video I showed you how to dip your fingers in water and just wet the bow and crinkle it up a little bit. You can do that if you want, or you can just leave it dry like it is. And just pull the tails and make the bow the size you want it to be. And then I have a die. This is the Phrase Play number 7. It's one of my favorite dies by Paper Tray Inks. I love the font and the word thankful. And I'm just going to I want to cut the thankful out with gold paper, and I don't want to waste all the gold paper because I just want the word. So I'm going to cut a little strip and place it over the thankful and run it through my die cutting machine. And the gold paper that I used is actually from the Luxe Letterpress kit. It was the first Make It Mark It kit from Paper Tray Ink. If you don't have that kit, you can probably find the gold paper made by Silhouette. And it's self-adhesive, so you just peel off the back and stick the word onto your project. So that's pretty much it for this project. You'll just slide your tags in, and I like how the first tag on the leaf, I just adhered the center of the leaf so the tail would kind of hang over the front a little bit. And then I'll just tuck the rest of my tags in, and you have a really nice little gift. For your dip die cuts, you don't have to use gold embossing powder. You can use another color if you'd like, or if you don't have any embossing powder, that's okay too. Try dipping your die cuts in something else, such as paints, or maybe the Paper Tray Ink reinkers, or maybe even something like sprinkles. I'm sure you can all come up with something fun and unique, and I can't wait to see what you'll make. Hope you have fun with this and have a great day. Bye!